the heart defends. In every story and the work we do, we're building bridges for a broader view. No longer hidden, no longer deterred. This is the power of being heard.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Being Heard podcast. My name is Callan, and together with you, I'll explore another situation of our life. Today, we're going to dive into a really interesting paradox, how the very technology that's supposed to bring us all closer can actually put up these invisible walls, especially for people who don't speak one of the big global languages.
Yeah, this quote really sets the tone, doesn't it? It just perfectly captures that strange feeling. We've got all this amazing tech, things are moving so fast, but at the same time, whole groups of people are being completely left out of the conversation. Their voices just aren't being heard.
And what's so wild, when you look at it this way, is the massive gap between the promise and the reality. On one hand, tech promises us this world of inclusion, community, and easier life, a friendly helper. But for so many people, what they actually get is the total opposite. They get silent walls, they feel more excluded, and that helpful ally feels more like a solid, invisible barrier.
Okay, so to make this feel a bit more real, let's step away from the big ideas for a second and get into a personal story. This is where it all clicks. We're going to follow a man named Colin, and this one little moment of frustration that ended up starting something huge.
So this guy, Colin, he's just a regular person, right? He's not some tech wizard. All he needed was to find out when his train was leaving. I mean, it sounds like the simplest thing in the world. But it's often these tiny, everyday moments that show you where the biggest cracks in the system really are.
So let's walk through what happened, step by step. First, you have the hopeful ask. He speaks clearly in his own language, Romanian, expecting a simple answer. Then, nothing. Just silence, followed by some response in a language he doesn't even understand. And finally, you get this frustrating reality where he's trying again and again, talking louder, speaking slower, but it's no use. The wall is there. His own phone can't understand him.
And that right there, that's the crazy part, isn't it?
The irony is just staggering. He's holding this little supercomputer in his hand that has access to literally all of the world's knowledge, but he can't get one simple piece of local info. And why? Just because of the language he speaks.
And pretty quickly, Colin figures out, hey, I'm not the only one feeling this way. This isn't just his problem. It's a feeling shared by pretty much everyone around him. And the thinking becomes, well, if the system won't listen to a whisper, maybe it's time to start shouting.
And you can really feel the emotion here when he's talking to his friend. He gets right to the heart of it. This isn't about some minor inconvenience. It's about dignity. It's about feeling like you belong, like you're recognized, and having this powerful tool actually serve you instead of making you feel like a foreigner in your own country.
So, the big question is, why? Why doesn't this stuff just work for everyone? Colin starts to dig into this with his friend Alex, and they begin to unpack all the reasons why this tech neglect is happening in the first place. Well, the first thing Alex points out is it all comes down to money, cold, hard economics. It's not that these massive tech companies can't do it. I mean, come on, they've got resources that are, as Alex says, bigger than planets. It's that they don't see the financial incentive. A market of 19 million people just doesn't look as appealing as a market of billions.
But Colin's not buying it completely. He asks this really great follow-up question. Okay, fine, but what about all the Romanians who actually work at these companies? Why aren't they pushing to get this fixed from the inside? And the answer, it's a bit more complicated than you might think.
And Alex's explanation here is, wow, it's pretty fascinating. He talks about this idea of assimilation. When you work in that kind of global tech world, you have to adapt to survive and thrive. You start playing by a different set of rules. You start thinking, even dreaming, in English and code. Your focus naturally shifts away from the very specific problems of your home country.
And really, that's what it boils down to. It's just a numbers game. Imagine you're an employee in one of those meetings. You have to pitch an idea. And the choice is between a feature that helps 1 billion users worldwide or a fix that helps 19 million people in one country. Well, the corporate logic is almost always going to pick the bigger number. Scale wins.
Okay, so let's just recap the big reasons they figured out for this neglect. 1, the market is just seen as too small. 2, people have gotten so used to things not working perfectly that they just settle. 3, the developers working inside these companies are focused on global problems. 4, there's this cultural disconnect. And 5, maybe the most important one, there hasn't been one big, loud, unified voice demanding change.
Right, so it's one thing to know why something is broken, but it's a whole different ballgame to actually try and fix it. This is where that frustration starts to turn into a real personal mission. The story isn't just about analyzing the problem anymore, it's about doing something.
And this is where their whole mindset shifts. Kellen and Alex realize they're not just trying to build an app or fix a bug. This is bigger. This is a fight for visibility. They're not fighting against technology itself, they're fighting against being ignored, against indifference.
But look, they're not naive. They know this is a huge mountain to climb. The talent is out there for sure, but it's all scattered. People are busy with their own jobs, their own lives. They're all working hard, but they're alone, not pulling together.
And that leads us to this. Just beautiful metaphor that really sums up the whole thing. It's such a powerful image. All these individual efforts, they matter. Of course they do. They're like little candles lighting up small corners of the darkness. But to make a real, lasting change that everyone can see, you can't do that with one little candle. You need a bonfire.
So, at the end of the day, Colin's story isn't really about a phone, is it? It's a universal story. It's about how you take that personal feeling of frustration and turn it into something collective, something powerful. And it leaves us with this incredible question. How do you build a bonfire from a single flickering flame? In our own lives, how do we find all those other little sparks and bring them together to create something that can truly light up the world? If you find this podcast meaningful and would like to support it, you can do so on Ko-Fi, PayPal, or Revolut. Your support helps me keep this project independent, consistent, and accessible. You will find the links in the description. Thank you so much for listening. I'm really looking forward to sharing this journey with you. Press the like button to make it better. And remember, being heard matters.